This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine, Corny. He was named after his grandpa, Cornelius, who used to own the candy store in town. He specialized in sour balls. People came from far and wide, and during the tourist season, shop really flourished. Business was just fine. But one year, the tourist trade was light. Grandpa Cornelius couldn't make the mortgage payments, and he lost the shop to the bank. The banker, Mr. Brower, who wouldn't give Grandpa any extension, quit his banking job, took over the shop. Now Corny loved sour balls. Even if his whole family didn't like Mr. Brower very much, he kept buying them. That is, till the day the new kid came to town. Corny hooked up with the new kid and took him down to Main Street to see the town's pride and joy, the sour ball shop. Mr. Brower was the first one to see the new kid, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. You see, the new kid was nothing more than a wrinkled prune. I mean, he was the size of a kid. More kids' clothes even talk like a kid. But he was just a glob of wrinkles. Corny explained that the kid looked the way he did from eating sour balls. Back where he came from, there was a sour ball shop that sold the sourest sour balls in the world. But Corny defended Mr. Brower, said he loved the sour balls and wouldn't let anyone destroy Mr. Brower's sour ball reputation. Corny suggested that he'd eat Mr. Brower's sour balls until he got all wrinkled up, just like the new kid. That would prove that Mr. Brower's sour balls were the sourest sour balls in the world. Mr. Brower was touched by the gesture, so he gave Corny the extra-large $5 bag of sour balls, which Corny promised to eat by morning. Next day, Corny and the new kid showed up. But Corny looked exactly like he did the day before, not a wrinkle. So Mr. Brower gave him the dozen-box party pack. There had to be more than 200 sour balls. Corny popped one in his mouth and promised to return the following morning. And next morning, sure enough, nothing. Not a wrinkle, not a crinkle, not even the hint of the slightest pucker. Mr. Brower was totally frustrated. He asked the new kid how many sour balls he had to eat before he started to wrinkle. The new kid replied, "Oh, well, I don't know, I ate a bunch." "Bunch," said Mr. Brower. "I'll show you a bunch." He went to the storeroom and brought out 3 cases of sour balls. That would be about 2,000 of them. Corny had to make 3 trips to get them home, and he promised to eat them all that night. Next morning, the new kid was still as wrinkled as ever, and Corny as unwrinkled as ever. Mr. Brower didn't know what else to do. He, Corny, and the whole town would just have to accept that Brower's sour balls were not the sourest sour balls in the world. Mr. Brower was ready to give up. But Corny wasn't a give-up kind of guy. He told Mr. Brower he was so proud of the famous sour balls, he would do anything to save Mr. Brower's reputation. Even eat every last sour ball in the place. Mr. Brower was so inspired, he agreed. There were so many, Corny would have to make a zillion trips to get him home, so Mr. Brower rented a truck and offered to drive. But the new kid piped up, "Well, I can drive, I have a license." Well, who was Mr. Brower to argue? No one could tell how old the kid was or what the kid really looked like under all those wrinkles. So off they went, Corny and the new kid in the truck, along with every last one of Mr. Brower's sour balls. And the two of them were laughing their guts out. When they finally pulled themselves together, Corny said, "You sure got even with him, Grandpa." This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine, whose grandpa now owns the new sour ball shop in town. It's called Sour Balls by Cornelius.
So that's it?